Howdy, everybody. Welcome back to the RC Air Experience episode, whatever it is. It's mid-April. And I
28.
usually, there you go. I usually ask Anthony what episode it is beforehand, but welcome. We have Fat Guy Flies RC,
Hello,
Greg,
everybody.
with us today. So thank you, Greg, for joining us.
Thank
Anthony,
you.
of course, my compadre is here, and looking forward to this. So thanks,
I,
guys, for
All right.
joining, and let's have a great discussion.
I think this is going to be a fun episode. I do.
Absolutely.
Greg seems like he's a little bit of a clown, which is good.
When you're dealing with a YouTube channel called Fat Guy Flies RC, I mean, when I first saw that, I don't know how many years ago it was, it made me laugh. So
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
So we started out, John, you missed it. So if you see behind him, and I'll dive into a quick backstory. But if you see behind him, he's got the new Motion RC A10, the 80 millimeter, the one they literally just came out with.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, "Is that the Motion RC 80 mil?" He's like, "Yep." I'm like, "You bastard! I want that plane." So Greg has been very gracious. We've actually made a couple of like trades. So I have a list of planes.
Nice.
Yeah, I have a list of planes that I have been wanting.
His bucket list.
My bucket list, basically. And I've been lucky. Greg got me two of them. I found one of them off of Marketplace. So I got a Carbon T28 from him. We made a trade and then on that. And then as this whole, I'm looking at that new Motion RC plane behind him, I bought his FMS A10 and it's literally on its way to me right now. It's like,
so all of this happened just before we started the podcast. That's
right
nice.
Before. Yeah. I should have waited 6 months. I could have swindled him out of the A10 from Motion in 6 months. Damn it. Damn it.
And I even told him, I said, "So did you get your little 70 yet?"
The little 70, he calls it.
Yeah.
So he was telling me
I had to make room. I mean, I got rid of one A10, so I had to have another.
Right. Tell him how many planes you have roundabout, because he thinks I'm crazy with like 50.
At any given time, I have 130.
Yeah, I would have guessed that based on your YouTube channel. So
here, kind of look around.
Oh my gosh!
This is the small view.
There's no room.
Oh,
look
at that around. Now that big blue thing's my big tool chest, and they extend on around there too. So
they're hanging vertically, horizontally, like every which way he can fit them. That's great.
There, yeah. If ever if the roof ever leaked or went through, I'd be out about 50 grand, I believe.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, but I bought this house specifically for two specific reasons. I never wanted my parents to go in a retirement home or an assisted living unless I couldn't assist them. So I bought a big enough home where they could have the second level.
Yeah.
And I want a place where I can have my planes. And I got them both.
Is that where are you in a basement or is that a garage?
That's a very interesting point. I'm in one of the very few homes in Florida that actually has a basement. Yeah. And it's not a true basement per se, because we're actually built into the side of the hill. I live in an area of Florida called the Ridge, which is the highest point, which is like 50 feet. But it's enough where I live on the side of a hill going down to a big lake. And so my house is built into the hill. So if you walk out my back door upstairs, you go on the level ground. If you go forward out the front, you fall a story. So the man cave extends the entire length of the house, but up there is the line of ground up there.
Yeah.
So it stays 75 degrees in here year round.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, cool.
Nice. Yeah, that's nice, especially with Florida, right? Getting 100 and whatever degrees Florida gets.
I do have air conditioning in here off the thing, but it's just to keep it right, because I get kind of hot down here working on planes. I get so impassioned.
Yeah. So Greg, I will say, and I'm gonna post your channel here. I'll share screen in a second, but normally I think John is like a machine as far as like his video posting, and I'm like, dude, I don't know how you do what you do, because I'm horrible at it right now. I have so many videos that I have that I just had to. Our niece just started working with us this week, which is great. We're starting to get caught up in so much stuff. But like I have videos that I record and I can't find the time to edit them and you, my friend, you are like on a whole nother video posting shooting level I've ever seen. Like
3,030 videos uploaded to YouTube.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I don't even, I really don't even remember how long I've been with YouTube. I know it's in the analytics. I've been
Well,
monetized
it says you joined
5 or 6 years.
It says you joined December 7th, 2011, but that's sort of skewed anyways, because a lot of times that's when you got your Gmail account or whatever, right? So
Right,
it really doesn't mean anything. So crazy.
How do you do it? Like, how do you? I've done planes with you, like where I'll ship you a plane, and like a day later you're like, got it. Yep, video's up. Here's the link. And I'm like, you just got it. Like,
okay,
today.
well, to understand my schedule and how this works, well, with the career that I have chosen, what I do when I work a lot. Okay, I work many hours, 14, 15-hour days. But the way it's split up, then I'll have many hours, many days off during the week. Okay. Like 1 week I'll work Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, Thursday, work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 14-hour days. And the following week will be just the opposite. I'm off Monday, Tuesday, work Wednesday, Thursday, off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay. And I work permanent graveyard shift. Okay. So, and both of our kids my son is 26 years old. He's out of the house. My daughter only comes in once a week to do her laundry and then go back out. So, we don't have animals.
Right.
And, I have my parents here and they live on their level. But anyways, I have plenty of time off from my job. I still work 86 hours every 2 weeks like everybody else. But because of my time off schedule, I have many days off during the week. And my editing, what happened?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, that's all. Okay.
I pulled up your channel. You're good. You can keep talking.
Okay. Well,
you're editing. That's where you're
basically, I started with a program called Filmora, which is, I'm not trying to plug their product, but Filmora has just made my life so much easier. And I learned how to edit with that program. And I just bought the basic $50 version and kept it updated. And it's very simple, intuitive to use. And I've got myself a little system of how I go out the field, fly the footage, put it in the computer, and then I have preset things I want to add that are animation and everything. And I've already got them ready to go, and I've already got everything ready to go, and I've got all my text ready to go. And I just drag and drop things over and piece them together. And one flight video represents basically 45 minutes to an hour of work by itself. Now, if I had more flights, well, then basically I'll spend, on my days off, I may spend 7 hours editing during the middle of the night when I get back from flying. And in that time, I'll complete anywhere from 6 to 9 videos. See, when I fly, I always take a minimum of 4 planes and 8 batteries. That way I've got 4 flights or possibly 8 flights, just depending on whether it's a prop plane or a jet. If it's a jet, it's going to be 1 flight with 2 videos because jets want to fly 3 or 4 minutes. So and then I get home, I have everything formatted and just a way of doing it. And I just keep going. My biggest time consume is answering people.
It's still crazy because I'm looking at it right now, just so everybody understands, and I'm sure people, and that's the one thing I will say as well. I was recently at Toledo, and I can't tell you how many people came up to me and were like, "Oh, I watched Greg's video, Fat Guy Flies RC." Like you have a lot of fans that watch your videos, and maybe your view count sometimes don't show that, but you have a lot of loyal fans. Because I had about 10 to 12 people come up to me and tell me that they watched your videos between the PA show and the Toledo show. But just so like you understand, the audience understands, just looking at your channel here, right? Let's go 7 days. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 videos, right? Now, you might think, oh, well, 10 videos, 7 days. Maybe, it's one plan. He does a bunch of videos. No, it's FMS 80 millimeter Shark, 70 millimeter Viper, the Avanti, the A10. So there's 2 videos on the A10. Then there's an L39 from Banana. Then there's a Flex RV. Then there's an SU27. Then there's the Hobby King Flycat. Then there's a 70 millimeter Yak. And then there's an 80 millimeter Intruder. That's you're talking about like 10 different planes in 10 different days.
Well, like I was saying, I sit there and I'll edit. I'll spend that all night long because I don't change my schedule. On my days off, I sleep at night. I sleep during the day, and I'm up all night. And my day starts late in the afternoon at 3 o'clock. And then we go flying. Me and Lori will go flying, and we'll get all 8, 9 flights in. Right. Then I go home and we have some dinner, and then I start editing, and I'll be editing till 3 a.m. But and with the process, if I do that 2 or 3 times a week, all right, well, guess what? Now I've got 24 videos in a bank, and I get them all, and they're all done. And I upload all of them, and then I release them. Every 23 hours, I'll release a video.
John, isn't that crazy?
I have them blown up and ready to go.
It's quite wild.
Yeah,
it's wild, right?
She sits there in a chair and watches The Masked Singer, and I sit there and edit videos 5 feet away on my computer, and that's what we do every night.
I am envious. I can't believe you have the time, and like, even though you have a system, it's a lot of work. Doing a YouTube channel, doing videos, putting the planes together. It's
every day of the week, no matter whether I'm working or not. I spend 2 hours on it, every day, no matter what. That's when I get home from work in the morning. I sit down, I log in, have a little bit of bite to eat, and I answer people's questions. That's very important to me. Even if it's just hi or just a simple question, I want to answer every single person that makes a comment to me. Right. And sometimes I lose a little sleep because I'm answering. Mm-hmm. And then I edit videos, and I just keep it going. And if I go out to the field, like today, obviously I was out flying today, and I had 8 flights, and the last flight I only flew for fun. I didn't film it at all. I was just burning a battery, and I felt bad afterwards. I felt like, well, that was a flight I could have shared with somebody.
Right. See, so I'm the opposite now because, like, I feel like I haven't. So part of getting into the hobby for me was I love the hobby. And I feel like between the store and even my lack of YouTubing, I feel like I haven't just flown for fun or did something RC related for fun in like a while. You know what I mean?
My wife insists I fly for fun sometimes.
Yeah. My wife's been getting on my case about it as well. Like, she's like, you just need to go out and just go flying and just take a day and just have fun and just go flying because it's just, you need to do it. So
go ahead.
Out of all of your planes, all of your manufacturers, what's your favorite plane that you have? And you have a lot of planes.
That is a loaded question.
Top 5? You want to do top 5? I don't want to single out.
It's easier if you break it down to what type of plane. All right. My favorite prop plane is right there. If I can move is the Flex Innovations RV860E G2 hanging from the ceiling. Okay. That plane, I feel like I can make it dance on its head, and I have a blast flying it. And it's a huge plane. And no, it's not an affiliate plane. It's just a plane that I have that I love. Right. And I do enjoy the Flex Innovation products. My second favorite prop would be my J10 Hangar 9 J10, the 10cc that just came out. I absolutely love that thing, and that is a great flying plane. Now, my favorite, maybe I guess you say your run-of-mill. I'm sorry, my camera just changed its angle on me. As far as your normal, like I say, commercial type stuff, your typical E-Flight and mass-produced that everybody seems to buy type planes. Oh, that would probably be my E-Flight Viper, 90 Viper. I do enjoy flying that. In fact, I flew that today.
I haven't flown one. A lot of people tend to like that plane.
It is a very, very forgiving. I actually burned the ESC up in it and the motor up in it. I learned the hard way that don't fly an EDF with too low a DC rating of a battery. I put a 30C in it, and I burned the ESC up and made the ESC basically have to cook in order to get that draw out of the battery. Right. And I had a thermal shutdown while I was flying, and now it's got a an FMS 90 millimeter ESC with 120 amp in it from a crashed Avanti. Oh yeah, and I've got the Avanti 90 with a thrust vector in. That thing is awesome. I love that thing. I love going thing and flipping it up on itself. As far as my scale jets, my favorite scale jet, honestly, and I'm sorry, Anthony, it's not the 262 you sold me. It's going to have to be my Freewing T45 Goshawk.
Okay.
Which is right.
How did you like the 262?
I love the 262. I was expecting it to be really suck the batteries down, but no, it's actually quite almost anemic in how much it will draw. I mean, I was like, I could almost get 5 minutes out of a 5,000.
It's a good looking plane.
Yeah, well, it's their new way of doing this, I guess. I mean, I don't know if from the factory they're putting this clear coat on there, and it just makes the foam look great.
So that last plane, they look, they're trying. I will give them. I will give them some credit. Their electronics still need work, right? Their servos, their retracts, stuff like that.
We're talking about Dynam. You're talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about Dynam. They are trying. So that 262, that's their V3, and if you look at the fuselage from V1 to V3, the fuselage is they opened it up a lot more. You can fit your arm basically in it now, and the finish on the foam, John, is actually it's pretty nice. Like they're nice. Getting better, but they still have the same issue. So like Brian Phillips did a 262 video for me, and the EDF blew up as he was flying.
Well, he didn't make sure that the adapter was actually on the motor; it just came right off the motor.
But you shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to.
Right. So it exploded mid-flight.
And spun in flat, and there was no damage to it. He flew it in 5 minutes later.
Yeah. Yeah. But then another one, because he emailed me afterwards, and both the EDFs ended up like imploding. I actually have to send him. I just got them, and I have to actually send them to EDFs. But the electronics, they still, and I just had a long conversation with them about it not so long ago. To change it, what a lot of people don't understand is like to change a mold, right? A foam mold for these jets. It's a big cost. It's not cheap or easy, even if it's the factory doing it. They're not making their own molds. They have to get the mold from somebody. They might be utilizing the foam and the molds at the factory, but they're not the ones machining a new mold. Like that is done by an outside source, and they're expensive.
Someone was telling me that to make a mold, just a mold for is $100,000.
It is. I've been looking into it.
Yeah.
So where I want to be 5 years down the road is I would love to have my own model at some point.
Yeah.
And I've done the research into molds, and I've even talked to people. And for a company like, let's say, Horizon or Motion, you're talking all in for a new model is probably $100,000 to $150,000, depending on the complexity of the model. And that's real talk. Like something like an F-22 or something like that, where you have the fuselage, then the wings, and then the stabilizers, and then you have everything. Those are all separate molds. It's not just one mold. So now, what might save us in the future is additive manufacturing. 3D printed molds might be the cheaper cost, and there's been some people are playing with it and seeing.
But can they do that? Can they do those molds and then inject foam in them?
Yeah, the only thing that would need to be done is, so right now the way a mold is pretty much made is it's like a billet piece of aluminum, and it's just machined, right? And then that's where all the cost comes from. It's labor intensive with the machining and the design process. If you could 3D print those molds now, metal 3D printing's come a really long way.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy. And now they're 3D printing all kinds of different alloys and stuff. It's getting wild what they're able to start doing. If you could 3D print the entire mold and then just clean up and machine the surfaces that need to be smooth for the inside of the mold, absolutely doable.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see. And who knows, maybe all this tariff stuff will start driving some of that innovation and kind of make things cheaper. But that's about what it will.
It will drive as far as that goes, as far as a bit more home-based type stuff.
It has to.
The only problem is that the electronics and the stuff going into that plane will still
Right.
be, you know,
Right.
subject to availability.
Right.
And so I think everybody in this hobby is like, oh, what's going to happen now? You know, like,
Yeah, no,
got
it's
over the evil hurdle of a remote ID. That was no big deal. So now we got this we're facing.
yeah. This is
So,
and like you said, that's part of the issue is the electronics, like the motors. And while you might see a couple people pop up and do that, I don't know how much financial sense it's going to make to
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's you're talking
the
about
biggest
huge
thing, nobody needs to
investments.
panic right now. Just don't panic. Everybody
No,
had
nobody needs to
remote
panic right
ID,
now.
and look what they did. And it turned out
It's going to be tougher a little bit. You're not so like even for right now for me, and I wish I had put in an order before that, but like one of the companies we order the FPV stuff from, I can't put an order in right now, and we're pretty much sold out of everything. I can't. Goggles. It wouldn't make sense at 145% for me to put an order in and bring anything in. So like
Well,
even with,
They'll still
Verizon's already
supply the
reacted.
order.
Yeah.
They'll still supply the order to you, but you just have to
Sorry.
pay the additional
I would
price,
have to pay the
right?
tariffs. Yeah, it's even
Yeah.
like Dynam. Like
Yeah.
now Dynam does the same thing. They have their own website that they sell through, and then they have me, right?
Mhm.
They can't ship anything to their California warehouse because
Yeah.
they are going to pay 145% tariffs on it. Like I was just talking to them about this the other day as well. Like,
Well,
That's the
if you're
holdup on the
interested in
T33.
moving to Canada, I mean, we're always looking for good people. So
I would love to move up there. It'd
we
be
don't have
awesome.
we don't have any tariffs on stuff coming from China. So
They're not matching anything, right? They're kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah,
No.
yeah. It's all nutty, but it's so it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I saw Skymaster put a post up. I think you commented on it, John. They were saying
Yeah,
that,
well, the interesting thing about that is like my Skymaster stuff is still coming. I have an SU-30 that'll be here next week.
right?
But what happens is Doug at Jets North Jets, who organizes our containers. I mean, he ships stuff to all over North America, but his containers land on our West Coast. They are driven to Doug, he's out east. And then from there, he ships out the product. So for me, Skymaster just is rolling like normal. Nothing
Right.
changes for us.
Right.
So, but I think they've delayed, and don't quote me on this, but I think they've delayed bringing the container into the US because, and that's what the post was about. People are
They're gonna get hammered.
worried, upset about the tariffs, whatever they are. I don't know what they are, but
Yeah, they're
Verizon already
145%.
jumped the gun.
yeah.
Verizon Hobby, they already raised their prices by like 15%. Everything's just 2 weeks ago, the E-Flight Viper 70 millimeter was
Mhm.
$349. 2 days ago, it's now $399.
Yeah, and with that too, our local hobby shop, the one that I go to the most, I think it was a Facebook post they put out saying they're not. I don't think even Horizon Hobby will ship to them currently right now, or something like that. So it's a weird situation, and that's where most of our stuff. I mean, for our local hobby shop, that's where the stuff comes from, pretty much, right?
So I can kind of understand why Horizon would do that, right? Because and I don't know if their plan is to kind of absorb. So let's say it stays at like 145%, right? Because I've almost contemplated this with my stuff, and John's smiling right now. He's like, "What is Andy's crazy idea?" So all right, so let's say it stays at 100. The tariffs stay at 145%, right? I obviously have inventory that I didn't pay tariffs on, right?
Yeah.
That I have right now, right? So if I mark up that inventory, let's say 25, 30% right now, right? I'm going to make more of a profit margin on the inventory that I have right now. But since I'm a great stand-up guy, what I can choose to do is use that extra 30% on that profit margin and put that towards the tariffs that I'm paying on the new stuff. So instead of having to charge everybody 100% markup on the stuff I'm bringing in, you can choose then to lower that percentage so it won't be as much. And I don't know if that's Horizon's plan. And it's kind of, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, right? But that could be a way to kind of lessen the blow a little bit on the stuff that they bring in if the tariffs do stick around.
Yeah, some of that comes down to complexity too. I mean, you look at your business as an example,
Right.
you're dealing with, I don't know how many SKUs, but let's just say 100, just to have a number. Then you look at a
230
company like, yeah, you look at a company like Horizon Hobby, who probably has
thousands.
thousands, right?
Right.
Thousands.
It becomes a
Warehousing.
lot more, yeah, it becomes a lot more complex, I would assume, to deal with all that stuff.
I actually talked to somebody from Horizon not too long ago, and they're just poking around, and I was like, what? How many orders do they do like a day? And they ship about 1,000 orders a day.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That obviously that's not just planes and it's little stuff. It's parts and wheels and bodies because they have such a huge line, like you said, between cars, boats, airplanes, toys. They have so much stuff that 1,000 orders isn't 1,000 big planes. It could be small stuff, but 1,000 orders a day. 1,000 orders a day. That is so nutty.
I can't do that many videos. Sorry.
No.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Because you're on your way, buddy. Yeah. It's look, I understand a portion of it, but at the same time, it's like, do we really want to make toys here? Is it really necessary for us to open up factories and make toys? Like,
nope.
I get it with some of the more important stuff, chips and steel, and but like I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and they're like, do we really want to make T-shirts here? Do we want T-shirt factories? I'm like, who's going to work at these places too? Like,
Right.
a T-shirt's going to be $60 for a T-shirt with some print on it if we do it here. It's not going to make sense,
And
right?
if you look at RC planes, when's the last time you tried to look for a American manufactured RC plane?
No,
It
I know.
doesn't exist.
Nope.
We don't do that. So we would have to literally start from scratch. What kind of material are we going to use? What kind of electronics are we going to? If we kept it all within the United States, we'd have to completely do all of it.
Right.
The form, the electronics, the batteries, the motors, and we're so dependent on so much from overseas that it would take 20 years, honestly.
Yeah.
Sounds like a nightmare.
To get it mainstream to where like Horizon Hobby sells and is an everyday type thing. To get it that level, it would take 20 years. Yeah.
Now I wonder, John. I mean, I'm sure they're catching on to this, right? Like if you imported to Canada and then tried importing that from Canada to the U.S., I'm sure customs would be like, "No, original location was China. You're getting hit with the tariff."
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're shipping one thing here and there, it's just going to slip through the cracks, I would assume. But if you're dealing with container loads, it's
they're
pretty obvious.
Yeah. So, Greg, getting back to your favorite planes and everything, I am curious about that A10. We were talking about some of the features that are pretty cool on that thing. Did they knock it out of the park with that plane? Because it kind of looks like
absolutely. I mean, they did their homework. They listened to their customers, and they did what the other A10 needed. And I never had the other one. I'm just going by people's complaints and all the time. You can tell what an airplane needs to be by all the mods that people do to get it to where it should be. Okay.
Right.
One thing and like I was saying earlier, before we started talking or before the start recording, the A10 came with a nose wheel gyro that they didn't advertise it. They didn't put in instructions. They didn't put on the assembly videos. People are just saying, "Hey, there's something wrong with my rudder because I do right rudder and it corrects itself." And then other people are a little more catching on, going, "Oh, that's a nose wheel gyro." And as soon as even me, when I was putting the thing together, I'm getting ready to take it out and do a taxi, a range test out in my front yard for the first time, or down my street. I said, "That rudder is correct." Oh my gosh, the light went off in my head. They included a nose wheel gyro because it behaves exactly the same as some of my Spectrum nose wheel gyros. And that gave me the clue. Oh, that's what that is.
That's something
that's just something they included that. And that's just, they got plastic cladding all the way around it. Places that are wear points on your wingtips and places like that are normally wingtips are terrible wear points on a foam plane. They put lightweight, strong plastic over that.
Wow.
The bottom scrape are I forget what they're called, underneath the A10, those little fins that hang down right behind the cockpit, right before the wing. Those things, Those are now on a railing system. You can easily slide them off, and they're made of solid wood.
Oh,
They're encased in plastic and a solid wood, and they easily come off. That big radar antenna thing that hangs off the side by the cockpit, that's on a railing system, because you would knock that off on all the other A10s. You had to glue it on or not have it. The wheels and the gear on this thing is painted gears, not just bare metal. They've gone through and they've made the scale looking gear, and it's robust.
Yeah.
I had that thing. I took that A10 out, and our field, I'm sorry, but our field is very, very rough off the runway. It's not because we have a runway. We don't need the field, but
Right.
we keep it cut just for like normal long. Well, it's very bumpy. That A10 didn't even know it was in the grass.
Yeah.
The suspension is so good. It took off. So
they
nice.
do make good landing.
Yeah,
gear.
it never had any of that bounce. It just kind of went right on straight. It never even knew that it took off on grass and landed on the grass.
I will say I've always kind of been partial to Motion over like E-flite, and that's just my personal preference. They're a company that I tend to like when I buy my own stuff. I kind of look at them because I feel like the quality of their planes is kind of nice, and their landing gear, like they have nice aluminum. Like I have the OV10 from them. It's got nice landing gear on it. Like, I now have the P38. It's got nice aluminum gear. Like,
well, and any of the planes that are 70 millimeters or over, as far as they all have metal trunnions. They don't have cheap plastic trunnions. And that's just a standard for them. You won't find that in a lot of other places. And
right.
even their chicken wire gear, like even this one here on the Yak 130, okay, this has the chicken wire gear. But this is like some incredibly strong, because it's short, it doesn't have much stress. This thing can really take abuse, even though it's chicken wire. This is the
So
future.
normally on those planes, I pull that off and I hand launch those and belly land them. on the smaller EDFs, on the 70s, the 64s.
That's one of their very budget friendly ones, though. So
No, I know. I do that too.
Their quality. They finally fine-tuned their manufacturing process to meet the holy grail of great scale fidelity versus durability.
Yeah.
E-flite has always been more about making the foam more durable, and where they bit the bullet was not as much scale and realism. That's why they go with so many things that are more like sports and not real planes, like the tight timber and things like that. That way they don't have to be scale. Whereas Free Wing, they want to look just like the real thing, even down to the smallest detail. But the trade-off in that is you don't get the durability because you're trying to get scale. Well, they have been tuning their process so long and been doing it for so long. They're producing planes now that are just as tough and just as durable, and just have that longevity ability to them as E-flite and FMS planes do to a degree, and keeping that scale realism. So that's, but you're going to pay for it.
They've been coming out with some really nice planes too. They came out with the B-25,
yes,
they came out with the B-2. They're starting to come out with some nice stuff. They're starting to listen to the community and come out with the cooler planes. John, your
B-25 flies good.
Your jets have nose wheel gyros, right?
Yeah, we pretty much. I'm just watching your video in the background here, Greg. Yeah, basically everything has a nose wheel gyro on it. It's all part of the system. So, I mean, that's the way we set it up. I shouldn't make that generalization. That's what we do. Not everybody believes in it. So.
Well, look at the money invested in your jets. They kind of, you got a lot going down that runway.
Yeah.
Okay. A half a second mistake. Hey, there's 40,000 down the drain. Open another one. Come on.
With the way it's set up, it's almost there would be no reason not to, because you've got we're using a Cortex gyro. It can stabilize up to 16 or 15 channels. So, why wouldn't you, right? So.
Yeah, it's wild. I
like the marker lights on this A10. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, and there's black out there. How come they're not green? Or why are they blue? Oh my Lord, people, come on. You got some great looking slime lights. Yes, they're blue. You can see them. Helps.
Who cares?
Yeah. Oh, you would not believe the flack I got because I put afterburners in it.
So what size battery does this thing use?
I'm sorry?
What size battery does this use?
You want to have at least two 5,000s, at least two 5,006s.
Okay, so obviously one for each side.
Right.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, good looking plane.
It's a nice plane, John. It's big too
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
for a foam jet.
Yeah.
It's
1800 milliamp or 1800 millimeter wingspan.
but it's
Yeah.
expensive. It's all right. So I'll probably get hammered for saying it's expensive, but I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
And I'll just tell you that it's affordable.
It's affordable. It is. Well, compared to what you fly, it's like
Oh yeah.
it's definitely affordable.
I think the afterburner lights look cool, just mounted in there.
Well, I mean, the orientation value for me, orientation value and coolness level will always trump scale realism.
Yeah.
That's just, and I get flack for it. I've actually lost subscribers because I went outside the rail of scale before.
Yeah.
And they said, well, I'm unsubscribing because you just don't do that. And I'm like, well,
Ciao.
Now, don't
Oh,
they
that-
make another? They make another version that's more than
yeah,
this one.
that's the basic version. You get the other one, 779, and that comes with the gyro and the better motors.
Hmm.
I mean,
That has 9 bladed fans. Mine has 12 bladed fans.
so you went for the big dog.
I went for the 779. If I do it right, I'm gonna go all the way.
Yeah.
Now, I don't go 8S with 90s though. My field isn't big enough to support an 8S. It's just
Those marker lights are really nice.
yeah, and they're those pictures and the videos do not do them justice. They are day bright, very much day bright.
Yeah. The video never picks up lights properly. It doesn't work.
The next 2 mornings we're gonna be doing a morning sortie, doing low passes over the runway, and I want to be able to really show those lights off as it comes, go a couple of feet off the ground.
It's a good looking plane. I mean, it's an $800 foamy though. I mean,
Yeah.
The foam quality is so great and so dense. You have to really look hard to try to find the individual cells.
Wow.
It's so dense, and it's
Now-
not brittle. That's it. That's the one I got.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't get the new SR-71.
My field will not support that. I need another 50, 60 feet of runway. In other words, I'd have it in a heartbeat, but I just can't. I don't have the room for it. Just
See,
don't have the range.
they made the SR-71 that E-Flight should have made. They E-Flight made that tiny little SR-71, and Banana tried with an SR-7. It actually wasn't Banana. It was Skyflight Hobby or
Blitzwork.
Blitzworks. Yeah, right. Blitz RC. Which, believe it or not, the foam, the fuselage and stuff on the Blitz RC one was actually pretty nice. It was just underpowered.
Yeah, it was EPP foam, which is much more dense, but honestly is more brittle.
Right. It was just underpowered though. It just didn't have the power. But this is the plane that E-Flight should have made instead of the twin little 40 millimeter UMX thing that they made.
Yeah.
And this is a good looking.
If I had another 50 feet of runway, it would already be in my hangar.
How
Yeah.
long is your runway that you have?
210 feet.
And it's paved or it's geotextile?
Yeah, it's just geotech. It's just geotech. Yeah. I wish it was paved.
Yeah. But then you'd wish it was longer too.
Yeah, I keep begging. I said, because we got the material. We have the geotech canvas, but
Oh.
trying to get the people to put it down, and then you got to get the permits, and it's just expensive. The club, we're like, why our runway's fine? Okay, I agree.
Nice.
But
Yes, SR-71's a nice plane too. They've come out with some cool planes lately.
and that wouldn't be that hard to land. I mean, you're going to come in a little bit of a high alpha, nose up attitude, and set her down.
Right. Right.
But you're going to have to allow for a long rollout, and you're going to almost have to, if you're short runway, you're going to have to use that chute because those big nose cones up front are going to really eat up your reverse thrust if you're using reverse thrust. So
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons. I mean, trust me, I weighed the balances on wanting to get it, and I'm like, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to do it justice. I'm going to end up in that grass so much and replacing the gear every so often.
It's an expensive plane
It's
too.
going to have
though.
to pass.
Yeah.
It's another almost $800 plane as well. You know, by the time you're done with everything. So it's.
So when they brought that A10, and I'm like, okay, no, I can do that one. That one I can do.
Yeah. So this one right here is the last plane on my wish list right here.
The last one.
Well,
yeah,
if you
until
you
next
go
week.
2 clicks over to the left, I've got that other one.
This is it right here. This is the last one on my wish list.
Just
Would you
bite
be
the bullet
opposed
and
to the
get a big one.
64?
What'd you say?
Would you be opposed to the 64 one, the 64 millimeter one?
I don't know. I kind of wanted the big one. I was looking at the 64. I don't know.
I've got one
Right up
here in
there.
the shop that uses twin 210s.
Yeah, I
Right
would
up
love
there.
it. I would love that one for sure. For sure.
The 64 is right behind me up here.
I stopped.
That is
trying
the
to-
only jet I have that intimidates me.
What do you mean intimidates you? Why?
Well, I have the hard trying to find the right approach with the right amount of power and not drop a wing with the approach of that plane. I'm out of runway
Right.
by the time, and so I have to set up my landing where my setting down point is very close to the one end where you should, but then my approach from both sides is cut off. And so I have to almost combat land that thing. And that's not a combat landing plane. You have a long approach, come in, and then a slight flare right before you touch. You flare too much, she's going to drop one way or the other.
Right.
And if you don't flare any at all, she's coming in really hot. Well, then I'm in the grass and tearing up my gear again. So
Yeah.
I mean, your timing is everything with that plane. And so that's the one that I have the hardest time with. But I still do it successfully.
So one thing I've noticed with your videos is your runway is pretty windy. You fight a lot of wind on your runway, right? It's,
If I don't have a 9-degree crosswind, I'm not happy.
you can hear it in the mic.
I have learned the art of coming at me and then turning towards the runway at the very last second.
It's so, it's so fun. You can hear it like when you in a bunch of your videos, you can hear the wind ripping in the mic.
Well, we
Yeah.
have 2 filters going. We got the wind muff and the electronic filter going so if you can still hear the wind,
Oh yeah, that's
Wow.
then I'll
right.
tell you. And that's why I tell Lori, I said, look at the flag so they can see what I'm dealing with. You know, and they're like straight out.
Jeepers.
I know we originally we were trying to get you and your wife on for the Wives of RC, but you guys were busy. But it seems
She
like
was working, I was off, and then the next time I was working, she was off.
yeah, it seems like she's a pretty big part of your channel and very understanding as
That she's the reason I have the hobby.
okay.
How so?
Well, like I said, I have a very stressful, high liability job, so I have
Right.
to have some sort of stress relief. And I used to just build computers and do a lot of online gaming and stuff, and that was what I did. And it got to the point where it just wasn't doing it for me. And well, let me back up. Before that, about 30 years ago, I liked RC planes. I bought a Hobby Coast 60 with a secondhand gas powered in before foam planes really even got started.
Right.
And went out, had one formal lesson, knew more than the guy could ever teach me, went out in my neighborhood, lost the plane, crashed. Stupid hobby, gave up on it. I was an idiot. Okay. Fast forward 15, 20 years, and the online gaming is just not doing it for me. I'm not getting rid of the stress like I need to. And my wife says, why don't you try those RC planes again? She said, you really liked it for the short time. I said, well, I'll give it a shot. Well, safe technology had just hit the market.
Right.
They only had it in 2 planes. They had it in a Super Cub and the Delta Ray, which was E-Flight. I think it was the E-Flight Delta Ray, the blue and white one, the big one, which I actually still have part of one around here somewhere. And that was new safe. Safe was brand new. They had the old AR-36A sport receiver that you couldn't change them in any way. Well, anyways, basically I went out and I took the plunge and I bought one. Taught myself how to fly. Got the bug. And then started flying them. And then I went for that. And then I got the Hobby Zone Corsair that had safe. And then I was dependent upon safe. And I learned how you could take that receiver out and get a programming cable. And I learned how you could jerry rig it to where if you put it in a plane very similar to the same kind of plane, you could get the safe to work in that plane. You just had to be careful. And I'm trying to tell people, Well, finally, I started. I'm getting a little history here about Fat Guy. I started trying to figure out, what am I doing wrong? Well, I said, okay, well, I got my little run cam and I filmed it. And I came back home and I said, hey, honey, here's what we did. Kids watch, and they're like little. Oh, yeah, Dad. And I'm watching my videos. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong with these planes and everything. And I'm really enjoying these videos while I'm at work. And someone said, well, why don't you? And I understand at the time I was 333 pounds. Okay. I was really, really big. And, I'm basically 5 foot in all directions. And the guy said, why don't you start a YouTube channel? And you don't know, you might make a little bit of money. I said, who is going to watch my fat, what? I said, what am I going to call a fat guy in a plane or fat guy in this? And I said, or fat guy flies RC. He said, that's catchy.
That's funny.
I'm like, fat guy flies RC. Okay, it describes me, what I'm doing, easy to remember.
Hey,
And
fat guy in a little coat was pretty funny.
That's the formula for a YouTube name, is something that talks about what you're doing, easy to remember and short.
Yep.
And I'm like, start the channel, start getting views, and the rest is history. What? And my wife, and then every time I introduce people, I said, well, it's her fault I'm in the hobby. She's the one that said buy the planes.
That's it. Blame her.
And so now every time somebody new comes to the field and starts talking to me, I know you. I'm like, well, she's the reason. It's her fault. She's the one that got me into it. She's the one, that's the reason I got 130 some odd planes right now. She said, I know I created the monster. Oh, I throw it in her face all the time.
You're starting to see
filming. It's been huge. So anyway,
you're starting to see growth, right? Because I've been watching your subscriber count as you've been posting. It's been going and going, and now you're starting to. I feel like the last year or so, you're starting to really hit a stride.
Yeah, it's really been taking off, and I'm, and trying to, put God into my channel and everything. I think has a lot to do with that. Showing a positive Christian example of what I am, and and then try to. And I think that's really being blessed through God through the channel. But the other thing too is that I don't care if the channel grows. And that's the biggest thing. I watched a YouTube video a long time ago when I was just starting the channel, and one of those master series things you watch about doing a YouTube stuff. And he said, I don't care if you do a channel about basket weaving. He goes, and you only have 3 people that watch you. He said, if you love what you're doing,
right?
He goes, just stay with it. He said, because eventually it'll catch on, because if you're passionate about the subject matter, that will come through to your audience. And he goes, and then all along the way, as you can afford to, get better cameras, get better lighting, get better stuff to do the video the way you want to watch it.
Right.
And then that's the biggest thing. And for me, the whole reason for this whole channel, I really started realizing, okay, I can really reach people out. I started RC planes, and what I know about RC planes, everything is self-taught from me. I've learned everything except for that one lesson I had 30 years ago. Take off the wind, land in the wind, and if it gets so far away you can't tell what it's doing, you're too far away. Great advice. That's all I remember. But, and biggest thing is to do a channel that you want to teach and that you want to share with. And that's YouTube has helped me grow. So therefore, I'm looking at the guy who's got $300 in his back pocket. He bought himself a little secondhand receiver or transmitter. He wants to get into the hobby. What the heck do I do? Like I was, 15, 20 years ago, and figuring out, what do I do? Okay, well, my name is Fat Guy Flies RC. Here's what I do, and this is how I went about it, because I give everything from a self-taught point of view.
Right.
Everything I show you, my build and everything, I have learned the hard way through my wallet and through experience. And that way I can give it to the viewers, and hopefully they won't make the same mistake and spend as much money as I've had to spend to get where I'm at, because I want them to have a positive experience. The more people have fun in this hobby, the longer this hobby is going to last for us. So really, I'm doing it for selfish reasons.
You know what I just realized? I'm sitting here listening to you and watching. You just did the Fly Fans L39.
Yeah, I have all 3 of them.
And I was just going to say, you have the Baltic Bee in yellow right behind you.
Mm-hmm. And I've got the Black Diamond, and I've got all 3 of them right there.
It's the same plane, Greg. It's the same.
But it's the same plane. They've all got the exact same receivers. Yeah.
Well, when you have 130, what's 140? What's 150? It doesn't
it's
really
just a
matter.
different color. It's the same exact plane.
Well, I know, but my problem is I couldn't decide which one I wanted.
Oh my god.
So I got the black diamond first, then I got the olive camo, and I said, well, what the heck? I need the Baltic B. That way I've got all three. I got the complete set. I got all three brothers.
So
right there.
I actually had one.
I got all three Vipers too.
I actually had one, and I made the mistake of we were getting ready for a show, and Jackie was helping me, and we were grabbing boxes, and she grabbed it because I had it like off to the side, and we brought it to a show, and we were putting out the planes, and I was like, "Oh, this should not be here." And as we're like, up, somebody walks into the booth, and they're like, "Oh, I want that." And I'm like, "I don't know if I'm selling it. It's not supposed to be here. I don't want to sell it." Yeah, it's a nice little plane. It's a little
They're all great planes.
It's a great little plane. 64 millimeter L39.
Even when they had the introductory price of $199, which is awesome, but 209 now, they're still 209.
Yeah.
You're getting a 6S powered plane with suspension retracts, lights, flaps, and an awesome sounding 64 for $209.
Yeah, it's an awesome little plane.
It's a great flying airframe, anyways. So
it's a good looking. I had the white camo. I guess you're calling that the black diamond. Is that what that
one
is?
The black diamond. Then you got the olive. Well, you can't see them, but they're all three of them right there.
Yep, that's the one I had. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's John. I know you're a fan of the L39s for
Yeah.
a little 64 millimeter L39. It's a cool little plane. It's got a bunch of little detail. Like
the lights are extremely bright on it.
Yeah,
cool. Great
little plane.
Of course, one of my sponsors, KM Model Afterburners, they send me afterburners. I mean, all I have to do is say, "Hey, you got any afterburners?" He'll send me like 5. I'm like,
nice.
I need one. He'll send me 5. And so I've got them in everything. If I could put them in a prop plane, I would. But I found he explained how to put them into 64 millimeter jets.
Right.
Yeah.
And even though they're not, you can't, because you got an outrunner. So it's not like you can attach it, it'd be spinning and you get one shot, you're done. But, so you can't attach it to the back of the motor, obviously. Oh, look at that. Okay, we've got a fire. But so he said, just, get you some cross beams, some wire, like the go get 'em wires,
Right.
I just cut them and throw them in the back of the afterburner, and then I turn the tips down on the wire and I shove it in the back, right up next to the back of that motor with about a half a centimeter away, and glue it in place, and you're good.
Nice.
I did a video on how to do that. It works great. That's what's in the Baltic Beam is in that.
I can't believe you have all three of them in all three colors. It's just it's fun.
I've actually got several planes that are repeats. I'll buy a plane, sell it to someone. Why did I sell it? And then I go out and buy it again.
I swear I had a problem. I swear, but I no longer think I have a problem. You need to be
no.
50 planes Anonymous.
That's a nice starter kit that you got going.
Airplanes Anonymous. That's what you need to be.
I call it an addiction and a disease that I want no cure for.
Right.
You were telling me earlier I need to go to swap meets and get rid of some planes and sell some planes. Well, yes, but they're all my little flying children. Which child do I part with?
Right.
So
you make room to adopt new children. Right. You make room to adopt new children. That's all.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I got my new A10 because I had my heart broke to give you my A10. So
keep rubbing it in. Just keep rubbing it in.
It's a cute little 70 when you get it. You'll like it.
Cute little 70. Unbelievable. I was so close. So there was a guy who had the 80, the version before the one they just came out with at Toledo, and it was new in box, and I was so close to pulling the trigger on it, and I was like, I just can't do it.
Yeah, wait until you can afford to get this A10. Honestly.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing it.
No,
although
it's worth it. It's worth it.
I have an A10 now coming to me, so now I might have to work on locating and securing the F-14.
Oh, by the way, real quick, on a side note, tell Jackie, these kind of things, this right here, yes, this makes a huge difference as a customer of yours.
Right.
This makes a difference. So tell her, I know it hurts her hand and sit there and write 1,000.
Oh my God. We were just talking about it.
I had that Bristol that when I first started contact. You know what? When I contacted you about buying that Bristol, what, a year or so ago, I
Right.
was in a motel room with COVID, and I couldn't leave. We were on vacation. I got COVID while I was on vacation. I got stuck in a motel because of that, and I bought that Bristol, and that is from that. And I got that to keep that because that little personal note. Tell her people it does make a difference to people.
She hears it from old people all the time, and it's funny because we were just talking about this the other day, and she's like, because we're growing, obviously, and we're doing a lot more orders than we used to, so we're going through now, I don't know, 150 cards a month that she has to hand write out. She's not happy sitting down.
Well, it's like even Motion
sitting
RC.
down, writing them out.
Here's a purchase from Motion RC from a thing. Someone takes the time, and this is not printed
Right.
later. Someone takes time and says thank you
Right.
with a Sharpie.
Right.
Okay. Little things like that don't only cost you a little bit of time and ink will keep the customer quicker.
Yep.
Than a a big cold corporation says you have our product, we have your money, now leave us.
Got to do it, and that's why we started doing it from the very beginning, because we wanted people to. We appreciate people. We're a small company. We appreciate people ordering from us. We try to do the right thing with, like I said. Look, obviously, I can't please every single customer, but we try. We try our best to do the right thing. It's a small community, so see, people don't realize, like, while as big of a hobby as it really is, it's a very small community.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why my channel hasn't really grown huge. Because look at the demographic.
Right.
I'm talking about people with RC fixed wing RC planes.
Right.
Okay. If I had bikini girls out here, I'd already have 500,000 subscribers. I'd be a millionaire. But I don't have bikini girls. I've got foam planes that fly away around a grass field, and my fat butt going, look at this thing land. Isn't it great?
Right. And even if you look at some of the people who have like the huge subscriber count, if you look at the videos that they make that are more tuned towards like the smaller, straight up RC airplane community, they're only getting 5,000-10,000 views on a video. They're not getting their average subscriber count of 800,000 or whatever the views are, because the actual serious amount of people that are in the hobby, it's not huge. It's a small community. So,
well, like I said, I started this as stress relief, and now it's just fun. Running I love the channel. I love coming home, doing my videos, editing, because and Anthony, you've done that. You made a video, and you yourself, John, you make a video, you fly the plane. Okay, then you both and myself, we have the unique perspective of going home and loading up that video that we just flew.
Right.
Yeah.
We flew it. So I have found myself watching my videos and looking at my hands. My hands are doing the controller actions, watching myself fly.
Right.
Because you're kind of reliving it, So that translates, and when you put that video, that the passion of it translates, and it's so important.
Yeah. So it's funny that you brought up the first time, and I having a store, I get a bunch of people reaching out to me looking for free planes and stuff like that. You were one, and that's why I continue to work with you. You were one of the first creators that reached out and wasn't like, hey, send me a free plane. It was like, hey, I have this channel.
Would you consider?
Right. I'd be interested in featuring, anything you could do to help me out. And I appreciated that more than, send me a free plane. You know what I mean? Because I get a lot of that as well. And I have a smaller channel myself, so I don't blow those people off. And I'm not saying this to be mean or anything. Normally what I'll do is I go, hey, listen, I'm a small company. I can't afford to send everybody a free plane, but I'll give you a little bit of a discount if you want to put it on your channel and feature it.
What you did with me?
Right.
My very first purchase, you gave me, I think, 15% or something off the Bristol, something like. And then later we found out how much that actually cost you. I'm like, and I told my wife, you realize he basically cut even or almost lost money letting me have that plane. And he doesn't know me from Adam.
Right.
He's my channel speaking for me, and I'm like, okay, I've got to do a good job for this guy.
I try to do that for even the smaller creators if I can. I'll give them a discount because look, I understand what they're trying to do. Like, we're all in the same hobby. They're trying to grow their own channel. They're, I get it, but it comes down to dollar and cents. Like we can't do that every single time because then.
Yeah.
Well, you're thinking about eating meat this month, so maybe you might want to have money for yourself and Jackie. I mean,
so
that grocery thing, paying the lights, it kind of gets in the way.
We're gonna start wrapping up. You have anything else, John?
No, been fun.
Yeah.
Poor
My
John,
wife-
we haven't talked to him at all. He's
My-
like, I'm in the podcast, guys. I know I'm here.
My wife's working nights this week, and my son is poking around down here, going, "All right, Dad, let's go." She's working the overnight tonight.
Oh yeah.
My wife's at work right now too.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, let me go deal with the boy. No, it's been a pleasure, and maybe if we do more of the wives in the future or whatever, it'd be great to talk to your wife and have her on at some point down the road. So you never know where this whole thing takes us, but. Thank
Next
you.
time I'll have it upstairs where she can sit in her chair where I do the editing, and that way she's comfortable.
Get all the dirty, real behind the scenes stories from the other half.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
she even told me because I was going to do it in the living room, and I said, "Well, I really want to do the man cave. That way, I got the planes in the back because that's the environment that people associate me with." She said, "Well, if you're going to do it in the living room," she said, "make sure you straighten up. Look what's behind you. I said, clean out the chair or whatever." I'm like, "Okay, honey." Yeah.
I'll do it downstairs.
I won't do it downstairs. I mean, the man cave don't matter.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, I think that's it. Have a great night. Thank you again for coming on.
Thanks,
It's been a
guys.
pleasure. Yeah, absolute pleasure, Greg. Thank you.
All right, I got editing to do.
Good night.
Good night,
Good
guys.
night, y'all.